Welcome to the channel. Let's learn more about these women who made history in the Bible and humanity. One of them, at the end of the video, will reveal why they were hidden in many moments in the Bible. In a long time ago, before our modern world took shape, there was a big boat, Noah's Arkansas. You've probably heard about it and the animals and of course the Great Flood. But there is more to this story. 3 women were also there. They were the wives of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The Bible does not name them, but ancient stories do. These weren't just any women. They were survivors, lived incredibly long years, and played a huge role in what came after the flood. Let's dive into the stories of these 3 women: Sedelbab, Nailtamak, and Adataneses. Through the stories and clues left in ancient manuscripts, we will discover who they were, the families they started, and the impact they had on our world. The untold story of Noah's 3 daughters-in-law, the wives of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. For those unfamiliar with the subject, these are the wives mentioned in the story of Noah's Ark who were part of the family that survived the flood, as told in the Bible's book of Genesis. They include the wives of Noah's sons, Noah's daughters-in-law, and Noah's own wife. Although the Bible does not name these women, it confirms their existence. In this video, you will learn everything you need to know about them from the Bible, as well as information from the Jubilees, Sibylline oracles, and other ancient manuscripts. Sedelbab was the wife of Shem, the father of the Semitic peoples, according to the Book of Jubilees. She was the wife of Shem and the mother of the Semitic peoples. She had an incredibly long lifespan, according to the Sibylline oracle, living for centuries after the flood. According to the Bible, she had many sons and daughters during that time period. Sedelbab was also a prophetess. According to the Sibylline oracle, she passed down prophecies to each generation that arose from her offspring while in Mesopotamia. There are some ancient Christian traditions that say the following about her and her husband, Shem. These traditions come from the Christian Saint Hippolytus and report the existence of an ancient Targum on psoriasis that looks like the Book of Jubilees, although the names of Shem and Ham's wives appear to have changed. Elam, Assur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram are among the descendants of Sedelbab and Shem mentioned in the books of Genesis and Chronicles. Furthermore, the Bible mentions the grandchildren of this woman, who was the mother of the Semitic people. The grandchildren mentioned are Uz, Hul, Geter, and Mas, sons of Aram, son of Shem, and Sedelbab. Shem's wife is considered the matriarch of several ancient Semitic peoples. She is considered the matriarch of the Elamites, the Elamite peoples, as well as the Chaldean and Akkadian peoples descended from Arphaxad. According to the Book of Jubilees, she is also considered the ancestor of the ancient Arameans, descendants of Aram, and the ancient Lydians of Anatolia. She was the mother of all the children of Shem mentioned in the Bible, as well as of Assur, the progenitor of the Assyrians. In the Jubilees, the ancient Assyrians, who were also a Semitic people in antiquity, are descendants of this woman named Sedelbab. Some sources claim that Sedelbab was a descendant of Cain, a lineage of Cain, or even a combination of the descendants of Seth and Cain. Others claim that she was a woman descended from Seth, but this is still debated. According to the Book of Jubilees, the wife of Ham, the youngest son of Noah, who was the father of the Hamite people known as Africans and South Indians, is called Nailtamak. As a result, Nailtamak was the mother of the African people, the people of Cush, and the descendants of Canaan, such as the ancient Canaanites. She was also the ancestor of the ancient Egyptians, who descended from Misraim, as Misraim or Mizraim was her son. She was also the mother of Cush, the ancestor of the ancient Ethiopians and Nubians, who still live in Africa in places such as Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia, and Eritrea. According to genealogies, the Dravidians, who are considered the original inhabitants of India, are also descendants of Nailtamak, who is the mother of both Africans and South Indians. Following in the footsteps of the Sibylline oracles, such as Sedelbab, the wife of Shem, Neltamok lived an exceptionally long life. These characters lived to be 600 or 700 years old, like pre-flood women who lived to a ripe old age. There is speculation that she outlived Ham. As she lived for centuries, she also made several prophecies to each succeeding generation descended from her and her husband Ham. There are ancient legends in Christian traditions about Ham's wife, such as that handed down by Hippolytus, who died in 235 AD. According to this ancient tradition, Ham's wife is also known as Neltamok, as mentioned in the Book of Jubilees. According to a strange legend about Ham's wife, God told Noah to destroy the first person who announced the beginning of the flood. At the same time, Ham's wife was baking bread, and when water unexpectedly gushed from the oven, destroying the bread, she exclaimed that the flood had begun. God then abruptly reversed his earlier command that Noah not destroy his own daughter-in-law, who was to be saved from the flood. This story about Ham's wife is very similar to Abraham and the story of Isaac when Abraham was about to offer Isaac as a sacrifice to God during the Holocaust. As a result, we can see the parallel between these two stories in which God tests the faith of his servants by involving a loved one. According to the Book of Jubilees, the wife of Japheth, who is considered the ancestor of the Indo-European and Asian peoples, is known as Adataneses or Adataneses. Adataneses, like Noah's other daughters-in-law, Neltamok, Sedelbab, and Shem's wife, lived an incredibly long life because she was born before the flood. People had much longer life expectancies then than they did just after the flood. Although she survived the flood, she lived for centuries. Adataneses, like the other daughters-in-law, was also a prophetess. According to the sister oracles, all of Noah's daughters-in-law were prophetesses. While she was still alive, Adataneses made several prophecies for each generation and people of her descendants that would come after her death. Ada then witnessed the growth and prosperity of many of the people descended from her and her husband Japheth. In addition to the subsequent prophecies to herself, due to the fact that she lived hundreds and hundreds of years, Noel predicted the seed of Japheth multiplying and becoming numerous. China, with its huge population, is a prime example of this. The Chinese are descendants of Togarma, who was the grandson of Japheth and Adataneses. Adataneses was the mother of Japheth's sons, according to the Bible and the Book of Jubilees, including his first son Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. They had many daughters in addition to these 7 sons, as well as other sons who are not specifically mentioned in the genealogies, and several daughters who are not mentioned to avoid an exhaustive list. Elisa or Elixa, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim are the grandchildren of Adataneses and Japheth. In this way, the descendants of Adataneses and Japheth spread through their sons and daughters over the centuries, forming several peoples and nations. She is considered the ancestor of the Gomerites, also known as ancient Sumerians, who were the descendants of Gomer. In early antiquity, the Gomerites were divided into 3 distinct groups: descendants of Togarma, descendants of Riphath, and descendants of Ashkenaz. Togarma's descendants gave birth to Far Eastern peoples such as the Chinese, Mongols, Japanese, and Koreans. Riphath's descendants became the Celtic people, while Ashkenaz's descendants became the Vikings, the Germanic, and Slavic peoples. It is worth mentioning that there is a debate about the ancestry of Asian peoples such as Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans. Some argue that they are descendants of Sin, one of the sons of Canaan, while other traditions and interpretations suggest that they are descendants of Togarma, grandson of Japheth and grandson of Adataneses. The ethnic origins of these people are still being researched and debated. In addition to these peoples, indigenous peoples and tribes from the Americas and other regions, as well as native Russians, are descendants of Adataneses and Japheth, as well as Togarma. It is worth noting that several ancient traditions, including Christian, Jewish, Anglo-Saxon, Rabbinic, Islamic, and Irish, mention these 3 fascinating and mysterious biblical women in their traditions, recognizing them as the matriarchs of humanity. In case you haven't heard, we have videos on our channel that explore the biblical origins of the people, focusing on the descendants of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, as well as their wives. Leave your thoughts in the comments section on this video. We plan to create a series about each of Noah's daughters-in-law, focusing on their biblical origins. If you are interested, please leave a comment. See you in the next video. Thanks.